Hey everyone, welcome. So, today we're going to dive into a story that's really simple, but honestly pretty powerful. It might just change the way you look at your problems. It's called The Parable of the Salt and the Lake, and it's all about a massive lesson in perspective. So, let me ask you something. You ever have one of those days, where everything's going just fine, and then boom, one tiny little thing goes wrong, and suddenly it feels like the whole world is crashing down on you? It's a feeling we've all had, right? Well, the story we're looking at today gets right to the heart of why that happens. And this is really the core idea of the whole thing. The pain we feel in life, it's not actually about the problem itself. Nope. It's about the size of the container, our heart, our mind that we hold it in. All right, to really get a grip on this, let's meet the main character of our story. His name is Ryan, and his journey, well, it's something I think a lot of us can probably relate to. He's just searching for a little bit of peace in a really troubled mind. So when we meet Ryan, he's at a real low point. I mean, life for him just feels like this constant storm of worry and sadness. He's completely stuck, just trapped in this negative cycle, and he has no idea how to get out. And you can see why. The sources of his anxiety were just piling up. First off, no job. That constant grinding stress of not knowing what's next, no purpose, no stability. Then, on top of that, you've got family pressure. All those expectations, whether they're said out loud or not, just adding to the weight. And all of that just spirals into this deep, paralyzing fear of the future. He's totally overwhelmed, just lost in this fog of what-ifs. But then, one day, he's in a cafe, and he just happens to overhear a conversation. People are talking about this wise old man who lives up in the hills. And hearing them talk, it's like a tiny spark of hope, just a little one. He starts thinking, what if this guy has the answers I've been looking for? So he does it. He goes to find him. But what happens next is not what he was expecting at all. The wise man doesn't just sit him down and give him some comforting advice. Oh no. Instead, he sets up this really strange two-part test. And all it involves is some salt and some water. Okay, so for the first test, the wise man hands Ryan a glass of water and a bowl of salt. The instructions are super simple. Take a handful of salt, put it in the glass, and then drink it. Yeah, sounds a little weird, right? But Ryan is so desperate for an answer, he just does exactly what he's told. And the result? Well, it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect. Ryan takes a sip and just winces. It's awful. The water is so bitter, so overpowering, you couldn't possibly drink it. All he can taste is that harsh, biting salt. But then, the wise man just smiles and says, "Come with me." He leads Ryan down to this big, beautiful lake nearby. He hands him another handful of salt, and this is key, it's the exact same amount as before, and tells him to just throw it into the lake. Then he tells Ryan to take a drink, right from the lake. Now, Ryan's probably a bit hesitant, but he does it. He takes a sip, and he's shocked. The water is just fresh, it's cool, it's pure. That handful of salt seems to have just vanished, totally dissolved in this huge lake. He can't taste it, not at all. The difference is just staggering. And right there, that's the aha moment. That's where the whole lesson just clicks into place. The wise man sees the look on Ryan's face, this dawning of understanding, and he starts to explain what that strange little test was all about. So he starts with the salt. The salt, he says, that represents the pain in our lives. Our problems, our sadness, our struggles. And the crucial thing to remember is that the amount of salt, the amount of pain, it was exactly the same both times. So if the salt was the same, what was different? Well, it was the container, right? The glass. That's like a small heart, a really narrow perspective. You put even a little bit of pain in a small container like that, and the whole thing turns bitter. But the lake? The lake is a big, expansive heart, one with huge patience and capacity. So let's just break that down one more time so it's super clear. The salt is the pain and problems we all face. The glass is a heart with very little patience, one that gets overwhelmed really easily. And the lake, that's a heart with big patience, one that can absorb those problems without letting them take over. Okay, so what does this all mean for us right now? This story isn't really just about Ryan. It's a guide for our own lives. The goal isn't to somehow avoid the salt in life, because let's be real, you can't. The real goal is to expand the container that holds it. You see, this parable teaches us a few fundamental truths. 1. Everyone has problems. It's just part of life. 2. Pain is actually how we learn to understand happiness. And 3. We learn our biggest lessons through challenges. But, and this is the big one, if you dwell on those problems, if you only focus on the salt, your whole life is going to feel bitter, just like that little glass of water. And that brings us to the final piece of advice from the wise man, really the core takeaway of this whole story. When problems show up in your life, don't become small like a glass. Become big like a lake. The idea isn't to wish your problems were smaller, it's to make yourself bigger. At the end of the day, finding peace, it's not about getting rid of all your problems. That's impossible. It's about consciously deciding to grow your capacity for patience, for understanding, for perspective. You grow your heart so big that when that inevitable salt of life shows up, it just dissolves without ever overwhelming you. And so that leaves us with a question, one to really carry with you. Because this isn't just a nice story to listen to. It's an idea to actually live by. So I want you to ask yourself, what is one small thing you can do this week to expand your own perspective? To, grow your own lake?